Action. Wow, this is exciting. Just gonna wait a couple seconds before I start. And just posted to my story. Awesome. Awesome. So glad that you are all here. Please just type in the chat if you can hear me and if the audio is clear. Epic. I can't wait either, Remo Rama. Wonderful. I'm excited. Right, let's kick this off. Dear D&D player, you've played a handful of characters before, but you've been reluctant to play evil characters because you don't want to be a total jerk to your friends who are at the table. I get it. Hi, my name is Assassin, and I actually have the audacity to play evil characters that my friends and fellow players love and enjoy. And if you want to learn how to play evil characters that your friends will love and enjoy too, then today is your day. This talk is for people who play D&D, who have always wanted to play an evil character, but you don't want to feel like a total jerk doing it. Now, I have a question for all of you. Who here has ever had an annoying evil character in your party? Let me know in the chat. Who here has ever had someone in your party, a team member, maybe an NPC, who was just a total evil jerk, and you know you were supposed to work with them? Growling Goblin says everyone. Yeah, we have for sure. Yep. And if no one comes to mind, then maybe it's you. Yes. So moving on, just an opening question. What is your favorite alignment to play in D&D? And we're talking in the game here. Just drop that in chat. And I know there's a lot to choose from. The chances are you probably have multiple characters, each with slightly differing alignments. Lawful good. Wow, Rema, impressive. Okay, a lot of chaotic. I'm seeing a lot of chaotic. Chaotic neutral, chaotic good. Shockingly, no evil, but that's all right. I hope we will change that by the end of this talk. Growling Goblin, you say NN. Are you referring to true neutral? Hello, Pipsqueak. Good to have you on. The truest of neutrals. That is absolutely terrifying. I actually do have a short little bit of speech planned on true neutral. We won't go too deep into those ones. My second question for you, and this one might take you a moment, is what do you think is your actual alignment in real life when you're not playing the game? What is the alignment that you live on a day-to-day basis, or at least the one that you mostly live by? Chaotic good. A lot of chaotics in the chat. I like it. I see that you guys like to live life on the edge. In real life, pretty lawful good. Honestly, if you were to ask me what my alignment was in real life, I would have a hard time guessing. And I think that's something that you almost need the people around you to tell you. So, very briefly, we are going to take a look at what are alignments. Now, I'm sure all of you are experienced D&D players. You've all probably played at least one game in your life. I'm sure you have at least one, if not more than one character. We're just going to very briefly take a look at what the alignments are. So, from left to right, we have lawful and chaotic. From top to bottom, we have good and we have evil. And smack dab in the very center, we have neutral. In all the centers, we have neutral. And in my opinion, evil is not the worst of them all. The most evil alignment you could possibly play is true neutral. They are the wild cards. You never know what's going to happen. It's either, for the true neutrals, you can confirm this, growling goblins. It's either everything goes or nothing goes. They're either fully on or fully off, depending on the play style. Not going to go too detailed into lawful versus chaotic during this talk, but I personally play a very fun tabaxi who very commonly rushes into combat and just start shooting without telling any of the other players. And everyone in that group calls me very chaotic. I disagree, but I mean, what can I say? It's me against everyone else. But today, our focus is going to be on the difference between good and evil alignments. And I hope that by discussing this, we will be able to show you today how you can play an evil character without being a total jerk. Now, too many people in our culture don't know the difference between good and evil. And I find this very tragic. A lot of people say good and evil is subjective. I disagree. And let me ask you a question. Has someone ever done something evil to you? Has someone ever betrayed you in real life? Has someone ever lied to you? Has someone ever stolen something from you? Maybe it was something that you loved and they stole it. An item. Maybe it was money they stole from you. Maybe it was your time. Let me tell you right now, all these things are evil. Don't go trying to tell me evil is subjective. It's not. Now, I have another question for you. Has someone ever done something good for you? Has someone ever given you a gift for no reason? Has someone ever helped you without being asked, just because they wanted to help? Have you ever done something good for someone else? These things are good. Trust me when I say there is a distinction between good and evil. And deep down inside, we all know it. But what I hope to do during this talk is to pull out those deep inner feelings and give more tangible, concrete language into the difference between good and evil. So, first, we'll look at evil. What does it mean to be truly evil? And you may not agree with the definition that I'm going to give you today. That's okay. But this is something that I've seen in all evil actions, both in D&D and around the world. And that is, to be truly evil as an individual is to be selfish. To be truly evil is to be selfish. To care only about yourself and what makes you happy. Being evil is not just about being murder hobo-y. It can be. Let me give you an example of someone who is evil, but not murder hobo-y. Let's pretend there is a dwarven warlord who was frightened of Fae as a child. And because of that, the thought of Fae terrified him. He thinks if he kills all the Fae in Faerun, funny it has the word Fae in Faerun, that if he kills all the Fae in Faerun, that he will no longer be afraid of anything anymore. So he becomes ruler of his kingdom and he goes on a quest to kill all Fae creatures. And in the process, he's trying to commit genocide. Now, this Dwarven warlord is very kind to those of other races. And he's very kind to his party members who aren't Fae. And to those who don't tell him what he's doing wrong. But all of his actions stem from a selfish desire. What is selfishness? We've all been selfish before, I guarantee it. I've been selfish. I'm sure you have been selfish before at some point in your life. Who here has ever seen their friend's new dice set and thought to yourself, oh, I want it? Comment yes in the chat if you've ever wanted one of your friend's dice sets. I'm sure we've all been there. I know I have. Who here has ever felt like someone else was taking up all of the screen time in your D&D session and you wanted your character to have more of the attention? If this has been you before, comment totally in the chat if you have ever felt this way. These are selfish traits, and it's very common to think them. Very common to have selfish thoughts. But acting on our selfish desires actually pushes people away. And I'm talking about real life here. Acting on our selfish desires. If you're writing stuff down, you need to write this one down. Acting on our selfish desires pushes people away. So if to be truly evil means to be selfish, and good is the opposite of evil, then what does it mean to be truly good? Well, I would suggest that to be truly good is to be selfless. Being selfless can be described as thinking about others more than you think about yourself. It's treating others the way you want to be treated. We overcomplicate selflessness a lot in modern culture. We overcomplicate being good a lot in modern culture. You see, being good is not becoming a pious priest and going to worship in the temple all the time and being very holy. That's not being selfless. Being good is not being selfless, is not being a monk and going off into an Eastern monastery in the mountains and humming to yourself and getting rid of all earthly pleasures. That's not being selfless either. Being selfless is treating others how you want to be treated. And again, if you're taking notes, please write this down. I'm going to say it again. Being selfless is treating others the way that you want to be treated. We've all done something selfless before. Who here has ever seen a homeless beggar and given them coins? Maybe that's you. Who here has ever purchased a really nice gift for a family member or a friend? Yeah. Who here has ever helped a friend when they needed help and didn't ask your friend for anything in return? It can be as simple as sitting with the lonely person in the school cafeteria. I'm sure we've all heard that example. I'm just going to nail it in a little bit deeper. Being selfless is putting yourself in other people's shoes and asking yourself, if I were them, how would I feel? Being selfless is when you stop and think. And if you're not taking the time to stop and think, then start today. You will make a lot more friends through selflessness. Now, these are the contrasted opposites. I would suggest to you that being good is being selfless and being truly evil is being selfish. But Assassin, we want to learn how to play evil characters, not how to play good characters. Ah, yes. Let me get back to that. I'm going to tell you the secret now of how you can play an evil character in D&D without being a total jerk in real life. Then after I share with you the secret, I will show you how it's done. The secret to playing a selfish character. Sorry, I won't use that term. I'll use evil. The secret to playing evil character in game without being a total jerk. I just gave away my next point here. Is to play your evil character in game while being a good person in real life. To play a selfish character in the game who is selfish towards the characters in the world while being a selfless person in real life who is selfless towards your friends at the table. Now, this sounds nice, but how do you pull this off? I know just as well as you as to how easy it gets to be sucked into the game and forget about your actions in real life or how they affect your friends. How many people have ever been playing in D&D, you've been playing a persona as your character, and you just get sucked into the performance until you can't even realize where your identity begins and where your character's identity ends and starts. If that has ever been you, type yes in the chat. I know this has happened to me before, where I get so invested into my character that I forget how to be assassin in real life. Sure, we've all experienced this before. Not to worry though, I'm going to give you 3 ways now on how you can be evil in the game while being good in real life. First, ask yourself this question. How can I make this game more fun for all my friends? Or worded differently, how can I make all my friends enjoy themselves right now? All my friends who are playing this session, how can I make them enjoy themselves right now? Let me give you an example. Right now, I am playing an all evil rogues campaign, and let me tell you, it is so much fun. I'm playing a 400-year-old selfish rogue who's gone mad. He's a Shadar Kai. He kills NPCs who are a threat to his goals, does whatever he thinks will keep himself alive in the game. He's very selfish, quite evil. But in real life, I'm always trying to improve the game by making all my decisions with my friends in mind, my fellow players. I'm always asking myself, if I were in their seat, would this action make me upset or will it spark humor and excitement? And let me tell you a piece of truth, and this is totally free. It's a secret that I've learned. If people couldn't care less about what you are doing in the game, then you probably shouldn't do it. I know some people might disagree with me on this one. But if people couldn't care less about what your character is doing in the game, then you probably shouldn't do it. Nothing is worse than when you are the only person having fun. It's true. If there's a group of 6 of you and you're the only person having fun, it's not sustainable. Your group will eventually stop showing up. Your games will dissolve. And you could have prevented this by spreading the fun. And the way you spread the fun is by being selfless in real life. One way you can involve your friends and their PCs in the game is by asking them questions. Here are questions you can use to include others using your evil character. Drop a question in the chat that you can or have already used to include your fellow players if there's any that come to your mind. And this will be helpful for all those as well who are watching. First question you could ask is, and I'm going to try an evil accent here, is what does this item I found do? Maybe you found a magical item, or maybe you found a turnip. Who knows what you found? You can use your evil character to go to another player character and be like, what does this item I found do? Another thing you can do is you can go up to a character in the game, another PC, and say, do you want to hear my evil plan? And you don't have to laugh, but you're including them. And you're thinking about the people who are playing their characters. Another question you can ask is, oh, how do you use your special ability? Maybe you saw them do something insane. Maybe they caught an arrow out of the air as a monk, or used Eldritch Blast as a warlock. You can ask them, how do you use your special ability? See, you don't have to play a good character in game to give everyone a good time in real life. Giving your friends a good time should be your goal, because this makes your friends have more fun, and they will always trace the fun you give them back to you. You will notice over time they will treat you better and trust you more, which becomes the perfect opportunity for you to stab them in the back. I'm joking. Don't ever stab your players in the back unless your DM asked you to do it and you actually want to do it. The second way to do this, to be evil in game and without being a jerk, is to be friends with the characters in the game. You don't have to be enemies with all your fellow players to be evil. You don't have to control everyone in your party to be evil. Ask yourself, as an evil character, why are you being selfish in the game? And then be realistic about it. If your character refuses to make friends, your game will crumble quickly. Find common interests and stick to them. Build relationships through funny moments in the process. In my rogues campaign, where I'm playing an evil, greedy rogue, all I care about is my own life. But it just so happens that one of the other player characters is a crime boss with a gang, and I found my best chances of surviving are helping what the crime boss wants most, and that is gold. So together, we have been robbing banks, and honestly, it's been an absolute blast. So that's an example of two selfish characters finding a common goal, and in the process, becoming friends. The third tip I will be sharing with you today is to switch in and out of character. Honestly, this is the most fun thing to do, in my opinion. Roleplay your evil character for a bit, and then swap out to your normal, good, real-life self. People love it. What does this look like? Let me give you an example. Let's pretend that your villain PC voice sounds like this. I am evil. Very, very evil. And let's pretend that your real life voice sounds like this. And this is just a representation. Oh, hey guys. I love D&D. D&D is so much fun. Right? You have that mental image. Now, I'm going to make up an evil speech on the spot. And I'm going to give you an example of what it looks like to switch from your character to real life in the same breath, not literally. My name is Geronimo Stilton, and I have a stick of dynamite. With this dynamite I shall destroy the world and take away all that you love and hold dear. And you can tell from the booger in his mustache that he's probably been using snot to wax it. This is how you can switch between characters, and it prevents you from becoming overly invested in your evil persona. And as I said, people love it. People absolutely love it. Finally, I have some final advice for you. And these are the do's and don'ts of playing an evil character. Never get emotionally attached to your character. Why? Because that's selfish. If you let your real life self get attached to your evil character or to any character, whether it's good or bad, you're being selfish in real life. Don't do that. But always become emotionally invested in your friends because they will outlive the game. But practice social distancing. We don't want anyone getting coronavirus. This is just the only graphic that I could really find of friends all looking happy and cheerful together. So, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this talk about how to be an evil character without being a total jerk. And I hope that after hearing this, you will have the courage to start introducing evil PCs into your games. And I hope that in the future, if you ever hear a talk again and people ask you what your favorite alignment is, that we will see some people saying they love to play evil characters. Not because you're a jerk, but because you love to have fun and you know how to let everyone else around you have fun too. At this point, I would like to open the floor to any questions. I'll be here for the next 7 or so minutes if you want to throw it in the chat. And you can also send me a message at my Instagram at D&D Character Idea. I do my very best to respond to all of your DMs. I love chatting with you. So please, if you have a message or a question and you think about it over the week, fire it to me over there on Instagram. Spiders and Mantis. That is correct. There is a slot for 1 hour, but the agreed upon time for this talk was only 30 minutes. That being said, I would like to expand this by 7 more minutes to answer your questions. Unfortunately, I do have a meeting right after this that I have to go to, so I won't be here for long. No worries, Andrew. Thank you very much, Growling Goblins. I appreciate that. Thank you, Shauna. I appreciate it. Growling Goblins, you ask, how do I lace my boots up like you so that I might walk a straighter path? Wow. I wouldn't say my boots are very well laced. In fact, I have a pair of sneakers which have been improperly laced for the past 3 years, and I wear them almost every day. So I wouldn't look to my boots for advice, but if you want metaphorically your boots to be laced, the advice I can give you is find wisdom at all costs, no matter the price. Find wisdom. Hang out with the people you want to become like. Look for someone wise in your life. Hang out with them. Never stop learning. Let's see. How can you be evil with paladins in the party? Thank you, Spider. That's a great question. Quite simple, really, to be evil with paladins in the party. You have to be smart, and you have to be smarter than the paladins. Remember, being evil is being selfish. Sometimes, and this is where it gets a little bit manipulative, so you want your character to be doing this, but not yourself in real life. Sometimes, the best way to stay alive is to have the best interests of your party members in mind. Let's say that your paladin's goal is to, I don't know, destroy all zombies in the world. Remember, as an evil character, you're not attached to zombies. All you care about is yourself. So it would be in your best interests then to help the paladin kill zombies. Why? So that you can stay alive and not get killed by the paladin. And you can still do whatever evil, treacherous things that you want to do, so long as you're keeping the paladin in mind when you're doing them. Great question. I'm just going to check here for more. Let's see. Remer Bimer says, what is your opinion on lawful versus chaotic on the evil spectrum? Now, I find a lot of people say good and evil is very subjective. I actually think that lawful and chaotic is much more, what's the word, subjective. Remember how earlier I said I have a very fun tabaxi that rushes into battle, and all my friends say it's chaotic. Well, actually, I disagree. My tabaxi is the most lawful character in the party, and I'll explain why. My tabaxi has a moral code, and that code says that if his friends are being attacked, then he will do everything in his power to save them, even if it means sacrificing himself. And that is the law that he has written upon his heart, his little tabaxi heart. So, being lawful is just following a set of ideals, whereas being chaotic is being unpredictable and you don't follow any rules really whatsoever. And that is my current understanding. So, when you ask the opinion that I have on lawful versus chaotic on the evil spectrum, I think the alignment sheets more or less nail it down. Whenever you Google an alignment sheet, you see the memes, you see Heath Ledger Joker on the chaotic side, and you see someone, I don't know, like Darth Vader maybe on the left side. I would say they're pretty accurate. And Spiders and Mantis said, should you try to hide your evilness? Now, that is totally up to you. We have all this image in our head of being evil, which I shared with my little graphic of the booger snot mustache guy. He looks evil just by, just in his facial expressions. He reveals it. And when you describe that kind of stuff, I think it's totally fine to reveal your evilness. Like, yes, and my character has this evil squinty grin and he carries a stick of dynamite and he walks around laughing maniacally. I think it's totally fine to reveal that. But the areas that I think you would want to keep hidden are the selfish intentions. What are the selfish things that my character wants very deeply that make him do things that hurt other people? Those are the things that you want to hide and keep on the down low. Whereas the roleplay aspect, it's totally up to you. Great question, though. Thank you, Spider. And we have one from Storm Giant Games. Aside from the Joker, what characters from popular culture do you think are the best representation of chaotic evil? Let's see. Chaotic evil from popular culture. That's a very good question. And as I said earlier, I find the lines of chaotic a lot more blurred. And tell me in the chat, everyone, how many of you would consider the genie from Aladdin to be chaotic creature? If you think he's chaotic, just type in yes. I know there's a little bit of a lag, so I'll wait for your responses. And I want to use this to show my point. Okay, we have several yeses. Yep. A lot of people are saying yes. And I think the reason why we think the genie is so chaotic is because he's always doing 1,001 things. If you say one thing, he'll take it off into a million directions. And he's like Aladdin, you have to be very specific with your wishes. And he's always doing these crazy things. I would argue that the genie is one of the most lawful characters in the movie. And the reason why is because he abides by the fact that he has 3 wishes. And those are the only 3 wishes he can give. And he follows what the people say right down to the letter. If someone gives him a wish, or in this case, a law, something they're telling him that they want him to do, he will take every detail and he will do it exactly as he hears and he interprets. I think he's the most lawful character. Now, if you were to free the genie and take him outside of the lamp, then I would fully agree with you in saying that he is a very chaotic individual. So while he is super chaotic in personality, I would argue that he follows the laws that he set for himself and is actually a very lawful character. So, see, based off that information, chaotic and lawfulness really depends on what you focus on in an individual. So for me to simply say that a villain is evil to say that an evil villain is chaotic or lawful, to be very subjective. And I'll give you one more example with the Joker. what is the Joker's law? Does he have one? If you think you know what the Joker's law is, put it in the chat. Let's see. Ah, yes. +5 charisma suggests V for Vendetta. Are you suggesting that V for Vendetta is chaotic or lawful? Just want to clarify. Chaotic evil. Very interesting perspective. And I would love to hear chaotic good. Yeah, I would agree. He is quite the selfless individual. He cares a lot for the people and he's willing to sacrifice his life in order to send a message that he believes will benefit mankind, which is very selfless indeed. Ah, Andrew Stuber. The Joker's law is to do whatever it takes to show everyone is corrupt. I like it. That is not something that I had considered, but for the Dark Knight, that's very true. And he's willing to do anything it takes. So, in a sense, the Joker can also be quite lawful. The direction I was thinking for the Joker is that he wants to do whatever will give him a good laugh. If he can find pleasure and joy in what he's doing, then he will do it. And that in itself is a law. So, as I mentioned earlier, good and evil are very distinct, but lawful and chaotic, the lines are blurred. So I apologize for not answering your question, Storm Giant Games. Really, just in the end, it comes down to good and evil, and the rest is up for argument. Are there any more questions that anyone else has before we end this session? Storm Giant Games mentions that it's the Joker's goal to subvert the values that everyone holds on to because he sees the world through blood-red glasses. That is extremely poetic. I don't know if I have that level of insight to fully grasp the words of that sentence. It's very deep, very poetic. I would encourage all of you just to, after this call, just to take a moment to think about that. I need to digest that. +5 charisma suggests Joffrey from Game of Thrones as chaotic evil. And then again, I think we go back into the argument of what does chaotic and lawful really mean? And there's some great YouTube videos on this. If you are interested, you can send me a DM and I can send you to some great videos that talk about chaotic and lawful alignments. In regards to Joffrey, honestly, I watched until 2 episodes after he died. Yeah, I would say his tendencies are very chaotic, similar to the genie in Aladdin. But I would also suggest that he is someone who is deeply hurting from a lack of identity issues. He doesn't know who he is, and he's trying to figure that out. And in a journey to figure out who he is, he decides, very selfishly, to exert his power over everyone else and do whatever makes him feel stronger than those around him. Potentially because he physically appears to be a weaker individual. So perhaps Joffrey's law is simply to show his power to everyone else, and he does it through very wicked and sadistic acts. IceRMR asks, how would you play a character that started out lawful, but is failing to an evil persona, chaotic evil? And I think the way that you would want to play this, IceRMR, is to start off having more good tendencies than evil tendencies. I don't believe there's such thing as lawful neutral or chaotic neutral. I think it's very hard to be neutral in those regards because you would have to have like the perfect balance of good and evil in your life, and that's very difficult. Almost every individual on the planet, wherever you look, will have either more selfless leaning tendencies or more selfish leaning tendencies. There's always more of one or the other. So I would simply start off with a lawful individual maybe someone who wants to bring justice to the world, and they're more good, and they end up getting corrupted in the process, maybe through painful events that happen in their life. Maybe they lose a loved one. Maybe something happens to them that causes them to become more selfish. Maybe they realize that the world isn't a perfect place like they thought. A great example of this is Harvey Dent. I think we all have seen, or the majority of us at least, have seen The Dark Knight. We know that Harvey Dent became Two-Face. He started off as a good character, but he turned into more of a selfish character. He was still lawful. He followed the law of the coin, which some people would call chaotic. I call that lawful. I'm sorry. But he ended up becoming selfish. And he put his coin before the needs and the lives of others. So I hope that answers your question. Going to take one last question here from Andrew Stuber. How do you view the neutral between evil and good? This one has confused me. Okay, so I hope that what I just said gives an explanation to your question, Andrew. Again, I'll say it, very hard to be equally balanced, good and evil. There's a popular proverb, I think we've all heard it before. There was a young boy in a village, and he was talking to the village elder, and he was explaining how he always has this struggle between being selfish and hoarding for himself, and being selfless and giving to others. He says, it's like there's this war within me. How do I know which one's going to win? How do I know who I will become when I grow up? And the village elder said, it's simple. Within you, there is a wolf and a lamb. The wolf wants to steal, kill, and destroy. It wants to take for itself. It represents the selfishness in your life. Then there's the lamb. And the lamb just wants the best for others. And it's willing to make sacrifices to do it. And the village elder told the young boy and said, whichever one you feed, that will be the one which wins in the end. So that's an age-old proverb. It's impossible to be perfectly balanced. We always lean one way or the other. And the way we lean is the way that we choose to develop and feed. So I hope that's helpful. Unfortunately, everyone, that's all the time I have for today. I stayed roughly an extra 7 minutes longer than I planned to. I'm sorry. I have a meeting I have to go off to. I hope this was helpful. And I hope for all of you who came later that you have a chance to go back and hear the talk that was given. Thank you so much to Storm Giant Games. I really appreciate you guys for all you're doing, Logan and Remy. You guys are champions. This is an amazing idea to do this all online. I'm very grateful for you giving me the opportunity to speak. I hope that all of you have a lovely day, a wonderful Sunday, an amazing weekend. Please stay safe.
Thank you so much, Assassin. Thanks. That was so freaking awesome. I'm glad we had people talking in the chat, and it was a perfect presentation. So thank you for hanging out a little extra with us and answering questions, and we'll see you online.
It's because of champions like these guys that we have conventions like Crowd Control. You should have thanked them.
Thank you so much.
You should have thanked Storm Giant Games. Thank you, Logan and Remy. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.